Pesachim Daf Ayin Hey. Today we celebrated the 70th birthday of Rabbi Bernard David from Manchester. Almost 3 years ago, Rabbi Bernard David must have been the first YouTube subscriber to our shir, and we call him the Manchester Rosh Chabur. He gathered many people with him to learn the daf together with us, B'tzaf Chada, and we wish him a tremendous mazel tov. He should go Michael Choyel, see tremendous nachas and parnos and gesund ad me'av esrim shana. We learned in the Mishnah that it's usher to roast the carbon Pesach over a grill. Yet the Mishnah qualifies it. And it says that Rabbi Gamliel told Tavi, his famous Talmid Chacham Eved, to roast a carbon Pesach over the grill. And the reason is because the carbon Pesach was directly above the fire. There was no grate, there was no metal, there was a gap large enough that the carbon Pesach was roasted from the fire and it was tzli eish. We had a machlokes early in the Masechta. If you take a byproduct of arla, which is asur b'hana, and you heat up an oven, and you put a bread in there, and the byproduct is still there. According to Rebbe, the bread is asur. According to Chachamim, the bread is mutter. What if you remove the entire arla, but you have the heat that was created by the arla? The halacha is that the bread is mutter even according to Rebbe. Yet when it comes to carbon Pesach, if you remove all the heat, you remove the wood, and all you have is heat from the oven, the carbon Pesach is not considered roasted, but tzli eish. And the reason is because it says twice, tzli eish, tzli eish. The question is, without the tzli eish, it would seem like it would be okay. It's considered the fire of the wood. So shouldn't it be considered the fire by us, by Arla? It should be considered as if you're using Arla wood. The answer is, perhaps we learn from Pesach to Arla. Another answer is that Arla and Pesach are very different. Pesach, we're saying that you have to have heat. Whereas by Arla, you cannot use the product. And once the product is not in the oven, even though the heat remains, that's not a problem. Rebbe paskins that if you put the carbon Pesach, you cut it slightly in order for it to fit on coals, it's kosher. That's considered roasting. In other words, coals are considered fire. The question the Gemara has is from tsaras. It says if a person has a tsaras, an affliction, a white affliction or a different color that was caused by a burn. The Torah says michva in the same pasuk twice to teach us coals. Now, according to Rebbe, coals are fire. Why do you need a special pasuk? So one answer is that the pasuk is coming to tell us different type of coals, not the coals that you're thinking of, the wooden coals. Rather, there are metal coals. Metal coals, they just have heat. They don't have a flame to them. And the Torah says, nevertheless, since it originates from a fire, it's considered a michva. The same thing would apply if you have hot ashes or boiling gypsum, boiling lime. These are all things that cause a michva. We know by the daughter of a kohen who's mizana, we give her lead. We have her drink boiling hot lead. Although the Torah says eish, you see that lead is considered fire. So the Gemara says bas kohen is different. Bas kohen, we learn the word sreifa gzeir shava to Nadav v'Avihu, the sons of Aaron, who had a small string of fire go up their nostrils and consume them from the inside. Their body was intact. So too the daughter of a kohen, her body must be intact. Her death comes from within inside. Now, you cannot use hot water to kill her, even though her body will be intact, because it says in the pasuk, even when you're killing somebody, you have to choose the better death, the easier and quicker one. So why does the Torah say the word eish when it comes to hot lead? It comes to exclude lead that comes directly from the ground. It has to be heated up, not from the ground, but rather from eish, from fire. The halacha is, there's 3 cows that are Katas, which are completely consumed. The kohen doesn't get teeth from them. Par kohen gadol, par helam davar. These paros have to be burnt with a fire and not with hot lime and not with hot gypsum. What's the reason? Because the Torah says it differently than before. The Torah says first the word tisaref and then ba'esh. And over here, the eish is an explanation of tisaref, whereas if it says ba'esh first and then tisaref, then it can mean any type of heat, anything that came from a fire. The fact that the Torah says even by the kohen gadol, chadas kohen gadol, it says it again, tisaref at the end, v'yisaref. That v'yisaref I need for something else to teach us that we take the chatas to the makom adeshen, to the place where you have all the ashes from the mizbeach, and even if there are no ashes there, you could still burn the chatas there. Another halacha is that you don't just walk away from the chatas once it's mostly burnt. You have to wait until it's completely consumed. Another answer to the question, Rebbe says that coals mean fire. coals equal fire, you can put a korban Pesach on coals, and we asked the question from Tsaras. Says Ravina, you didn't understand. What the Brisa said about Tsaras, you actually have to put the kam in another place. The Torah is telling, the Brisa says that fire and coals are equal. In fact, exactly what Rebbe said. And then it goes on the Brisa to say, but not, I would think not boiling gypsum, boiling lime. Kamash malan, michva michva. The Kohen Gadol Yom Kippur takes Ketores, and it says in the pasuk gachale eish. And the Gemara tells us, if we just say gachale, I would think it means oimemais, extinguished coals. If it would just say eish, I would think it means a big flame. So it says gachale eish. It tells us the in between one. It's coals that are loichashois. They whisper to each other. They have a dancing flame on them. Yet you see from here that the word gechalim, a coal, does not refer to a flame like Rebbe says. So Abaye says no. What the Gemara meant to say is if it would just say gachale, it would mean extinguished coals. But if it would say eish, it would mean coals and a flame. So you see exactly like Rebbe that gachale means a flame. Rabbi doesn't like that. He says, how in the world are you going to get a flame into the Kodesh HaKadoshim without a source, without a coal? You'd have to put oil in a pot and burn the oil. Flamboyer, whatever they call it today. Says Rabbi, but that smokes up, and that's not the derech. That you don't even do that for a regular king, of course not for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So Rava says slightly different than Abaye. He says when it says gachle, it would mean oimemais, dead coals, extinguished coals. But when it says eish, I would think it means maybe you could even do half and half, a half a coal and half a fire. And by the time you get to the Kodesh HaKadoshim, everything will be coals. Kumash malon, it says in the pasuk v'lokach gachle eish. When you take it, it has to be coals. And finally, the Gemara says, how do you spell the word oimemais, extinguished coals? With an aleph or with an ayin? The Gemara says it's with an ayin because it says in the pasuk, arazim loimamu began elikim, that the cedars would not extinguish in the garden of Hashem. In other words, when it comes to extinguished, it's like a coal that it's extinguished. So you see, it's with an ayin, just like in this pasuk. Have a wonderful day.